All right, at first glance, this worksheet for today may look very similar to the kind of worksheet we filled out for the previous class, but it has an important difference, and the difference comes in the kind of questions that are asked. On the worksheet that we filled out for the previous class, you were asked to identify what were called overall main effects, sometimes just called main effects. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on what are called, we will do overall main effects, and we're also going to do what are called simple effects and interactions. So we're going to build on what we talked about in class and on the worksheet that you did last time. So let me take you through one or two of these problems, and then feel free, if you get the rest of it, you can go whenever you want to. There's not a required video, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of scaffolding in the beginning. So the first thing we're going to do is the same that we did in the previous worksheet, which is we are going to try to graph these, and we'll graph them. This is going to give me problems. So we're going to graph them in the same way that we did before. And we're going to do again that no calorie and calorie down in the bottom. And just like we did before, we're going to take the no caffeine, no calorie and graph it. That's going to be here at 1. Then we'll take the calorie, no caffeine, and we're going to graph it up at 3. 1, 2, 3. The calorie, no caffeine. And remember, this 0 means no caffeine, and the square is going to mean caffeine. Then for the caffeine, no calorie, we see it's over at 2, so we're going to graph that at 2. And the caffeine calorie is up at 4, so we're going to graph that there. And what we'll do is we'll draw lines between the squares and lines between the circles. Okay, so this is the graphing portion, very similar to what you did in the previous. And what we'll see is we have some similar questions, but they're slightly different. So here, for this first one, it's going to ask us about different individual groups. So the first one asks, what's the average for no calorie, no caffeine group? Well, in this one, instead of averaging together groups, we're just looking at each of what are called the cell means or the cell averages. So for the no calorie, no caffeine group, that cell average is 1. For the no calorie caffeine group, that cell average is 2. The average for the calorie, no caffeine group is going to be 3. And the average for the calorie caffeine group is going to be 4. So now what we want to know is we're going to make some specific comparisons. What we're looking to do is figure out what are the simple effects. The simple effects, as you may remember, mean that we're only looking at 2 of the points, not all the points. So let's take a look for this very first one. Which groups would we compare to find out whether varying calories in decaffeinated drinks has an effect? Okay, so what we're going to do is we want to take a look and see what are we going to compare in order to figure out whether varying calories in decaffeinated drinks has an effect. So we're just going to look at decaffeinated drinks. So what we're going to look at in order to figure out whether varying calories within this decaffeinated drinks group has an effect is we're going to look at the no calorie, no caffeine group. That's the top one, the 1. And we're going to look at the the calorie, no caffeine group. So when we compare this no calorie, no caffeine group to the calorie, no caffeine group, we can figure out whether varying calories in this one group actually has an effect. Now for this problem, you don't have to figure out what that effect is, but I wanted to get you started on that. So this is going to ask you a series of 4 questions So for each one of these effects that you're trying to detect, which two groups are you going to compare? Okay. That's the first problem. I'll have you finish that one for class and we'll talk about your answers. Now, what we're going to do down here is actually start to take a look at simple effects. So the simple effects, and sorry, yours is a little bit better indented than mine is here. The simple effects, actually I'm just going to cross out this word main. The simple effects here, we're going to figure out by comparing two of these groups at a time. So let's do the same thing that we did above. So I'm just going to start answering this one. I'm just going to fill in these blanks. What's the average for the calorie no caffeine group? That's the calorie no caffeine group. And that's this one right here. So what is my average for that group? It's 5. What is my average for the no calorie no caffeine group? So that's my no calorie no caffeine group, and that is a 5 as well. Now, instead of asking what the overall main effect is in your previous worksheet, what we want to know is what is the simple main effect. So let me delete a little bit up here so I can point out what exactly we're doing. What is the simple main effect of calories, so moving from no calories to calorie condition? What's the simple main effect of moving from no calories to calories within the no caffeine group? So in other words, we're only looking within this group, and when we move from no calories to calories, what we see is we move from 5 to 5, or again down here from 5 to 5. The simple main effect of adding calories is 0. It doesn't change our energy levels at all. So it seems that calories for the no caffeine group has no demonstrated effect on energy level. 0 change in energy level. Okay? That's our simple main effect of calories within the no caffeine groups. So what you're going to do is you'll do the same thing for the simple main effect of calories in the caffeine groups, right? That's over here. You'll do the same thing for the simple main effect of caffeine in the no calorie groups and the simple main effect of caffeine in the calorie group. So here we're going to be moving from no caffeine to caffeine instead of from no calorie to calorie. The last thing you're going to do is you're going to take a look at the overall main effect. Again, your worksheets are a little bit better separated, but you're going to look at overall main effects of calories. So here what we want to do is we actually want to average the calorie groups and then average the no calorie groups. Okay, so let's take a look at our average of the calorie groups. Okay, I want to find the average of the calorie groups. That's going to be the average of these two. The average of 5 and 7 is 6. When I look at the average of the no calorie groups, that's an average of 5 and 7. That's going to be 6 as well. So down here, when I take a look at my average of the calorie groups, I have a 6, and an average of the no calorie groups is 6. So what is the overall main effect of calories? In other words, when I combine people in the caffeine and the non-caffeine, do calories do anything? And it turns out no, because when we move from no calories to calories, there are no main effects. Now the last thing that you're going to do is you're going to take a look at the calorie simple main effects. 2 calorie simple main effects. So let's come over here and take a look at actually the estimated simple main effect of calories within the caffeine group. Okay, so then I'll show you kind of how these work out. So now let's take a look. We've already done the simple main effect for calories within the no caffeine groups, which was 0. Let's take a look at the simple main effect for calories within the caffeine groups. Okay, so I want to look at within the caffeine groups, what is the simple effect of moving from no calories to calories? So I'll take a look at my 7 and my 7 here in my caffeine group. My average for the calorie caffeine group, right over here, is going to be a 7. Oops. my average for the no calorie caffeine group is going to be a 7 as well. So what's my estimated simple effect of calories within the caffeine groups? When I move from no calories to calories, it increases from 7 to 7, otherwise 0. So down here as well, it seems like it has no demonstrated effect on energy level. Okay, so now I have one simple main effect and another simple main effect. So what I want to do for this last question down here is I want to average those two simple main effects. Here I have a simple main effect of 0 and another simple main effect of 0. The average of those two is 0, and lo and behold, the average of the simple main effects is the same as the overall main effect. We should find this time and time again. What I want you to do is to use that to check your work. Okay, that should be enough to get you started. Once you finish, be sure to submit it. You can either submit it as a PDF. So if you work on this in Word, save it as a PDF or as a Word document, and then we'll talk about your answers in class.